Undercurrent, sponsored by John Hughes in Victoria Park. Choose your station before you choose your program. Absolutely.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Undercurrent. Thank you ever so much for your company. I'm Christy Molliger. Well, first up on tonight's show, a topic that, like me, may make you a little weak at the knees. Our dental workers happen to think they're not being paid enough. Well, next up, Janae Tomlinson has more.
Low-paid dental health workers gathered outside Parliament House recently to highlight their case to Health Minister Kim Hames and Shadow Minister Roger Cook. Concerns are raised about their working environment at a time when more people are on waiting lists at public dental clinics.
We would like to have a conversation with him about those discrepancies and hopefully try to work something out.
So many of our members came out today. This was a stop work, so they have basically closed their service, which they feel very strongly about, in order to be able to make the rally today, hear what the Minister has to say. They may have been a little bit disappointed about that, but also hear from each other about the strength of their resolve to continue this campaign.
I've been asking the Minister about this issue, particularly the issue about the attraction and retention bonus. On every occasion there was this hand-wringing and this agonising responses from the Minister saying, I know it's no good, I know they're underpaid, this is really bad. That's what he said to me time and time again in the Parliament. Over 25,000 West Australians are now waiting for dental health care in our public system. This morning there are about a dozen pensioners outside the Morley Clinic lined up at 7 o'clock in the morning waiting to get emergency dental care. This is the state of our dental health services in this state.
The crowd grew angry when Health Minister Kim Hames took to the podium.
The state of our public dental health service, we recognise, is in a very poor condition. We do have lots of trouble attracting and retraining staff. The 14 clinics that we talked about that are going to have reduced hours is true. We've got vacancies in just about all of them, and we have lots of difficulty getting new staff. This is nothing to do with a wage offer. The wage offer was signed off in 2010. This is about switching you from the $3,000 allowance that you used to get to an alternative system. If you don't want us to switch to the new system that takes away that $3,000 allowance, then we've only got two options. One is to continue the $3,000 allowance that you had, or alternatively, not have it anymore.
I think he's got his facts a bit confused on a few matters. We have analysed the offer that has been provided, and we know that there are a number of groups who are worse off than they currently are under the offer that the Minister has provided.
We're hopeful that this may have made a difference, that in fact the Minister may have no option now but to be listening. It's not good enough that the waiting list keeps growing, and it's not good enough that clinics are closing. The Minister needs to intervene. He needs to put something on the table that we can seriously consider.
So how did you think the rally went today?
Look, I think it went really well. We really had a lot of people here. I think we were able to show the Minister today how strongly people in the dental service feel about the service and how concerned they are about its future.
Hopefully the government listens to the concerns raised today at the rally and action is taken to help improve dental health care. I'm Janae Tomlinson reporting for Undercurrent.
Well, some people think urban sprawl is a good thing, but it's certainly not a good thing if you are a black cockatoo. Well, next up on Undercurrent, Johnny Cockcroft has more.
Perth's Carnaby's black cockatoo population has almost halved in the last 2 years. I'm here at the BirdLife office in Bold Park to find out exactly why this is happening and why these birds are worth protecting.
Cocky count is based on counting cockatoos flying into nighttime roost sites, and the most sites that we have on our database are actually in what's called the Swan region. That's one of the administrative boundaries for the Department of Environment and Conservation. So that basically goes up to Yanchep, down to Mandurah and out to the Darling Hills. It's pretty accurate because we've actually got most of those roost sites covered. Each year we get a few new sites reported. But you know, we are covering quite a lot of those sites and quite well. We have 300 volunteers that signed up, so that's people who have said that they would like to take part in the Great Cocky Count, and then I actually give them a site to go to. And we actually have now almost 360 sites across southwest WA. So basically people are given a site that's close to home, so it's fairly easy for them to go out and do the survey, and they only have to go out for 1 hour to just count the cockies flying into their site, and that's half an hour before and after sunset. We actually set it up so that you're watching the birds as they fly into the roost site, and you're watching them as they're flying across the sky and landing in the trees. So if you're trying to count them in the tree itself, it's actually quite difficult. The birds can go quite quiet, they're dark, the trees are dark, and that usually stops it from the double counting issue. Since 2010, when we ran our second Great Cocky Count, we've seen a 40% decrease in the Swan region in the number of cockies in the area. We're not 100% sure of what all the reasons are. There could be a whole range of different factors, not to mention the fact that we've been going through some severe drought. But we've got a lot of habitat clearance that's still going on in Perth, and we're breaking up our habitat and fragmenting it more. And we really need to get a bit smarter about how we're doing our developments here and actually keeping that habitat available for the cockies. This is really important habitat for the cockatoos. They come down to the Perth and Swan Coastal Plain area. We do have some issues where cockatoos are shot, and also they get hit by cars, and a lot of the birds that end up in rehabilitation have come in because they've been shot or have been struck by a car. So we need a bit more awareness and better protection for the cockatoos. Look, we need to protect habitat, particularly where we have roosting habitat that we know the cockatoos have been using. We need to protect that because they're looking for very specific requirements for where they roost at night. But it's more than just roost sites, it's across their whole range. They need good quality feeding habitat. In the breeding areas, they actually rely more on 12 kilometres worth of feeding habitat from a breeding site. So that's quite a lot of habitat we need to protect. If you take something like cockatoos out of the system, you might actually be seriously disrupting the Banksia woodland ecosystem, and then the impacts from that could be quite serious. Look, every species has a right to survive. It's not just cockatoos. There's a lot of other species out there that are showing decreases. Quenda, our native bandicoot, is also decreasing. We need to protect our fauna. Animals are responsible for distributing seeds, pollinating plants. Certainly the cockatoos are moving through all of our Banksia woodlands, and that's important habitat for them. If they're moving from one plant to another, they're part of the pollination and seed dispersal system. And yeah, we need to think quite carefully about how we're allowing development to occur, what habitat we allow to be cleared, and kind of the offsets that might be used to address that. It's also putting more habitat into protection to offset that, I guess, is something else they are looking at. But we need to think about populations in Perth particularly is going to increase quite a lot in the next 20 years. And I guess we need to look at the future of transport and how that housing is put in place to actually coincide with our environment.
Well, as you know, we're always interested to see what you think. So this week we took to the streets of Perth to find out if you think the Australian government is suppressing our free press. And Nat Searing found out.
Opposition leader Tony Abbott recently stated that it's not the government's job to control what journalists say in their day-to-day practices. Do we really have freedom of press? Let's see what people said.
Yes, probably too much.
Not enough. Too many constraints.
No, it definitely gets sensationalised a lot.
I think we have more freedom than other countries. I think we have enough.
Asia countries, because they don't usually get to speak what they want.
It's all controlled, power and control. Big corporates take over. So no, they don't really. They pretend to, but it's all a cover-up.
We are recently ranked 30th on the Free Press Index, so we're not that high up really. What do you think the reasons are for that?
Because the media is controlled by one or two people, and I think a lot of things that are actually said aren't going to air, aren't going to press.
What's out there, we're frightened of saying the truth, we're frightened of the repercussions. And I think there's a lot that could be said that isn't said because people are frightened of the repercussions.
It's all to do with power and control. You know,
So the government?
Government's got a lot to do with it, and it doesn't matter Liberal or Labor. It doesn't matter. We all abide by the rules, and they have the final say. So it's really hard. If you want to, the Greens, express yourself and so forth, you can till the cows come home, but it won't go very far.
I think we can do better. I think anybody who thinks that they've reached the top of their game should get out.
And what about censorship on the internet? They've just recently broadened their censorship category.
You get to go on Facebook and stuff, better than like other countries. You don't even get to go on Google or Facebook or any website like that. So I guess Australia's pretty open.
So far, I'm not sure exactly what they're going to be censoring, but if they go beyond, there is a limit to everything. Control, but if the government starts censoring each and every personal life, then I see that's not a freedom.
I think it's really important to get that right, and so they're probably going to have to play with it a little bit to find out exactly what works, what doesn't work, and what areas need to be sharpened up, because every time you put a censorship in, people are clever enough to get around it.
And you think on the news, there's like 5 channels that show the same news. Why is that? We just see the same news every day.
Yeah, you do see the same thing every day, but I actually go on the net to actually look in the BBC. But it's all controlled. It's all power and control and money. So after that, you know, we get to see what they want us to see. Politicians the same, a little bit of everything, but not much of all.
Perth has a mixed opinion about whether we have freedom of press in Australia.
I'm Annette Searing, reporting for Undercurrent.
Well, thanks for sticking with us. Time for a short break now, and we'll be back with more Undercurrent very soon.
Undercurrent, sponsored by John Hughes in Victoria Park. Choose your station before you choose your program. Absolutely.